All right, it is time to winterize the lawnmower again. First frost, I like to take care of a few things. One is making sure my lawn is mowed relatively short. I knock it down to about 4 or 5. That is different from the actual summer months where I mow it at around 6 to keep it a little longer, a little healthier, more shade, right? And the key here is, by the way, it's a great way to pick up those annoying leaves that fall around this time of the year. But the key is to make sure your gasoline isn't full, right, for your last mow. You want to run it pretty empty because you don't want to store any gas. A little bit's fine, especially if you put fuel stabilizer in it, but you can see we're pretty empty here. So I am going to add just a little bit of fuel stabilizer and a splash more gas. And it's okay if I run out of gas a couple of times during my last mow, because again, I want to make sure there's no gas sitting in there during the winter months. That's not generally a good thing. I want as little as possible or completely empty, so that in the spring when I fill it up with fresh gas, mix it up a little bit, it's going to start right up. So it is time to winterize this bad boy. I'm doing this once again, do this every single fall, and I'll show you kind of my steps that I take. So again, it's that balance between having a little bit of gas in there and not too much, right? So it might not start a couple of times. But anyway, so the grass is finished. It's cut. Now here's what I like to do. If you peek behind the air filter here, that's the air intake. And keep in mind, I'm just a do-it-yourselfer. This is just totally what works for me. But I like to start it up and have that the air filter cover off. And there's just a little bit more gas, a little bit of gas left in there. I use my glove to tie the throttle down so it stays running, so I can walk away from it with the motor running. And look what happens when I take some of this special oil that you can spray it in the air intake. And once that motor starts to go all the way, so it's starting to run out of gas, I give it a really solid burst like this with this oil. And listen to it. I keep going until the motor actually dies. It's going to kind of drown the motor out. And what that apparently does is lubricate all of those internal parts with this special oil, this fogging oil stuff. And then you can remove and throw that away because that needs to be replaced anyway. It's pretty dirty. And clean that out as well. So that's one thing that I do. I also take this special oil and I undo the cap for the spark plug. And it doesn't take that long. This is just kind of my regular routine. And this mower now is, I want to say 7 years old, 8 years, something like that. And it starts up every single time. It is a Honda mower, which is nice, but it starts up every single time in the spring. So back out the spark plug. Be careful, it could be hot. And you'll have to research how to remove your spark plug in a safe way. You don't want to get a spark. But I just back mine out like this. And I spray a little bit of oil on that part. You'll see here in just a second. Grab the oil. Give it a shake. There we go. And the tip as well. And then inside. Kind of hard with one hand here, but give that a spray inside there as well. And that's just going to lubricate those parts during the cold winter months. And we'll get that oriented and kind of hand threaded back on and then tighten down. Just like that. All right, that looks good. And we'll put the cap back on, making sure no debris worked its way in there, no pieces of grass. And that should be good to go. Now I'm going to clean this off. I am going to wait a couple days to order a new air filter. I haven't forgotten about that. And we will turn the fuel lever, there's a gray switch there on this particular model, off because I'm going to tilt this thing upside down just a little bit or on its side. I don't want any of the extra little fuel in that tube running out. And I'm going to get the garden hose out. Before I store the garden hose for the season, I'm going to spray everything off, get some of that grease and whatever else has accumulated over the years, and all the dog poop on the wheels, right? And I do check the oil at this point as well. Make sure that is sufficiently high and the color is good. And again, spray that off. Your hoe or your mower might actually have a little insert for the hose, a little input you could screw on. I'm going to forego that. I just like to, mostly because it's this extra step, right? And we'll go ahead and get the old air filter. Now, as far as replacing this, there should be a number on the side of the old air filter. Hopefully it's not dirty. You can see the name, the brand, and the model number. So you'll replicate that. You can go online and type in that number, and you should be able to find that pretty quickly. This is the one that matches mine, and presto, I have a new one here. Make sure that number is the same and it's in good condition. Make sure it's oriented correctly. We'll put that back in. Should be a perfect fit. Put the cap back on and go ahead and store it in a covered place during the winter months, and should start like a charm in the spring. Hopefully this video has helped you out. Thanks so much.